Straight Talk on the True Mind. Chinsim Chiksål by Chinul. Chinul's Preface. Question. Can the sublime path of the patriarchs be known? Chinul. Hasn't this already been explained by the ancients? The path is not related to knowing or not knowing. Knowing is a false thought. Not knowing is blankness. If you have truly penetrated to that realm which is free of doubt, and as vast and spacious as the immensity of space, how could you bother to make such discriminations? Question. But does this mean that sentient beings do not benefit from the patriarchs' appearance in the world? Chinul. When the Buddhas and patriarchs showed their heads, they had no teachings to offer men. They only wanted sentient beings to see their original nature for themselves. The Avatamsaka Sutra says, "You should know that all dharmas are the own nature of the mind. The perfection of the wisdom body does not come from any other awakening." For this reason, the Buddhas and patriarchs did not let people get snared in words and letters. They only wanted them to put deluded thought to rest and see the original mind. This is why when people entered Te-shan's room, he struck them with his staff. Or when people entered Lin-chi's room, he shouted, "We've all groped too long for our heads. Why should we set up more words and language?" Question. We have heard that in the past Ashvaghosha wrote The Awakening of Faith. The sixth patriarch expounded the Platform Sutra, and Huang Mei transmitted the Prajnaparamita texts. All these efforts involved a gradual, sequential approach for the sake of men. How can it be right that you alone have no expedience regarding the Dharma? Chinul. At the summit of Mount Sumeru, ratiocination has been forbidden for ages, but at the top of the second peak, all the patriarchs have tolerated verbal understanding. Question. From the summit of this second peak, could you possibly bestow on us a few simple expedients? Chinul. Your words are correct, and yet the great path is mysterious and vast. It neither exists nor does it not exist. The true mind is arcane and subtle. It is free from thought and abstraction. Hence people who have not yet entered into this state could peruse the teachings of 5,000 volumes of the Tripitaka, but it would not be enough. But if those who have perceived the true mind say merely one word in allusion to it, it is already surplus dharma. Today, without fearing for my eyebrows, I have modestly written a few passages to shed light on the true mind, in the hope that they will serve as a basis and program for entering the path. This will do by way of introduction. Right faith in the true mind. Chinul. In the Avatamsaka Sutra it is stated, "Faith is the fountainhead of the path, and the mother of all meritorious qualities. It nourishes all good roots." Moreover, the consciousness-only texts say, "Faith is like a water-purifying gem, which can purify cloudy water." It is clear that faith takes the lead in the development of the myriads of wholesome qualities. For this reason, the Buddhist sutras always begin with, "Thus I have heard," an expression intended to arouse faith. Question. What difference is there between faith in the patriarchal Son and scholastic sects? Chinul. There are many differences. The scholastic sects encourage men and gods to have faith in the law of karmic cause and effect. Those who desire the pleasures which come from merit must have faith that the 10 wholesome actions are the sublime cause, and that human or deva rebirth is the pleasurable result. Those who feel drawn to the void calmness of nirvana must have faith that its primary cause is the understanding of the cause and conditions of arising and ceasing, and that its holy fruition is the understanding of the Four Noble Truths: suffering, its origin, its extinction, and the path leading to its extinction. Those who would delight in the fruition of Buddhahood should have faith that the practice of the 6 paramitas over 3 asamkhya kalpas is its major cause, and Bodhi and Nirvana are its right fruition. Right faith in the patriarchal sect is different. It does not believe in conditioned causes or effects. Rather, it stresses faith that everyone is originally a Buddha, that everyone possesses the impeccable self-nature, and that the sublime essence of nirvana is complete in everyone. There is no need to search elsewhere. Since time immemorial, it has been innate in everyone. As the third patriarch said, the mind is full, like all of space, without deficiency or excess. It is due mostly to grasping and rejecting. That it is not so now. Jikung said, the signless body exists within the body which has signs. The road to the unborn is found along the road of ignorance. Yongcha said, the true nature of ignorance is the Buddha nature. The void, phantom body is the Dharma body. Hence, we know that sentient beings are originally Buddhas. Once we have given rise to right faith, we must add understanding to it. As Yungming, Yenshou said, to have faith but no understanding increases ignorance. To have understanding but no faith increases wrong views. Consequently, we know that once faith and understanding are merged, entrance onto the path will be swift. Question. Is there any benefit which accrues solely from the initial arousing of faith, even though we are not yet able to enter the path? Chinul. The awakening of faith says, if a person hears this dharma without feeling faint-hearted, it should be known that this man will surely perpetuate the spiritual family of the Buddha and receive prediction of his future Buddhahood from all the Buddhas. Even if there were a man who could convert all the sentient beings throughout the world systems of this tri-kiliacosm and induce them to practice the 10 wholesome actions, he would not be as good as a man who can rightly consider this dharma for a period the length of one meal. It is beyond analogy just how much it exceeds the previous merit. Furthermore, it is said in the Prajnaparamita Sutras, and if they give rise to one thought of pure faith, the Tathagata fully knows and sees this. Through this faith, all sentient beings gain incalculable merit. We know that if we want to travel for 1,000 E, it is essential that the first step be right. If the first step is off, we will be off for the entire 1,000 E. To enter the unconditioned kingdom, it is essential that our initial faith be right. For if that initial faith is wrong, we will move away from the myriads of good qualities. The third patriarch said, 1 iota of difference, and heaven and earth are rent asunder. This is the principle we are discussing here. Different names for the true mind. Question. We have already given rise to right faith, but we are still uncertain what is meant by true mind. Chinul. To leave behind the false is called true. The numinous speculum is called mind. The Shurangama Sutra sheds light on this mind. Question. Is it only named true mind, or does it also have other appellations? Chinul. The names given to it in the teachings of the Buddha and in the teachings of the patriarchs are not the same. First, let us explore the teachings of the Buddha. In the Bodhisattva Shila Sutra, it is called the mind ground, because it produces the myriads of good dharmas. In the Prajnaparamita Sutras, it is referred to as Bodhi, because enlightenment is its essence. The Avatamsaka Sutra names it the Dharmadhatu, because it interpenetrates and infuses all dharmas. In the Diamond Sutra, it is called Tathagata, because it does not come from anywhere. In the Prajnaparamita Sutras, it is also referred to as Nirvana, because it is the sanctuary of all the saints. In the Golden Light Sutra, it is said to be suchness, because it is true, permanent, and immutable. In the Pure Name Sutra, it is named the Dharma body, because it is the support for the reward and transformation bodies. In the Awakening of Faith, it is termed true suchness, because it neither arises nor ceases. In the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, it is referred to as Buddha nature, because it is the fundamental essence of the three bodies. In the Complete Enlightenment Sutra, it is called Dharani, because all meritorious qualities flow from it. In the Sri Maladevi Simhanada Sutra, it is named Tathagatagarbha, because it conceals and contains all dharmas. In the Definitive Sutra, the Complete Enlightenment Sutra, it is named Complete Enlightenment, because it destroys darkness and shines solitarily of itself. As Sun Master Yenshou's Secrets on Mind Only says, the one Dharma has 1,000 names. Its appellations are each given in response to different conditions. The true mind appears in all the sutras, but I cannot cite all the references. Question. We now know what true mind means in the teachings of the Buddha, but what about the teachings of the patriarchs? Chinul. In the school of the patriarchs, all names and words are severed. Not even one name is sanctioned, let alone many. In response to stimuli and according to faculties, however, its names are also many. Sometimes it is referred to as oneself, for it is the original nature of sentient beings. Sometimes it is named the proper I, for it makes visible all phenomena. At other times it is called the sublime mind, for it is empty yet numinous, calm yet radiant. Sometimes it is named the old master, for it has been the supervisor since time immemorial. Sometimes it is called the bottomless bowl, for it can survive anywhere. Sometimes it is called a stringless lute, for it is always in harmony. Sometimes it is called an inextinguishable lamp, for it illuminates and disperses delusion and passion. Sometimes it is called a rootless tree, for its roots and trunk are strong and firm. Sometimes it is referred to as a sword which splits a wind-blown hair, for it severs the roots of the defilements. Sometimes it is called the unconditioned kingdom, for the seas are calm there and the rivers clear. Sometimes it is named a wish-fulfilling gem, for it benefits the poor and distressed. Sometimes it is called a boltless lock, for it shuts the 6 sense doors. It is also called a clay ox, a wooden horse, moon of the mind, and gem of the mind. It is such a variety of different names that I cannot record them all. If you penetrate to the true mind, you will fully comprehend all of these names, but if you remain dark to this true mind, all names are only a block. Consequently, you must be precise in your investigation of the true mind. The sublime essence of the true mind. Question. We've learned the names of the true mind, but what is its essence like? Chinul. It states in the Radiating Light Prajna Sutra, Prajna is entirely free of signs. It has no signs of arising or ceasing. In the Awakening of Faith, it is said, the essence of true suchness itself neither increases nor decreases in any ordinary man, Shravaka, Pratyeka Buddha, Bodhisattva, or Buddha. It did not arise in an earlier age, and it will not be annihilated in a later age. Ultimately, it is constant and eternal. Since the beginning, its nature has been utterly complete in all meritorious qualities. According to this sutra and shastra, the original essence of the true mind transcends cause and effect. It connects past and present. It does not distinguish between ordinary and holy. It is free from all relativity. It pervades all places like the vastness of space. Its sublime essence is settled and calm. It transcends all conceptual proliferation. It neither arises nor ceases. It neither exists nor does not exist. It is unmoving and unshakable. It is still and constantly abiding. It is referred to as the old master, the awesome-voiced man on that bank, or oneself prior to the kalpa of utter nothingness. It is uniformly calm and still. It is free of the slightest flaw or obscuration. All the mountains and rivers of the great earth, the grasses, trees, and forest groves, all phenomena in creation, and all tainted and pure dharmas appear from within it. As the Complete Enlightenment Sutra says, men of good family, the Supreme Dharma King has a great dharani called complete enlightenment. It issues forth from the complete purity of true suchness, Bodhi, Nirvana, and the Paramitas, and is taught to the Bodhisattvas. Gui Feng, Tsongmi, said, the mind, it is vacuous, empty, sublime, and exquisite. It is clear, brilliant, numinous, and bright. It neither comes nor goes, for it permeates the 3 time periods. It is neither within nor without, for it pervades the 10 directions. As it does not arise or cease, how could it be harmed by the 4 mountains? As it is separate from nature and characteristics, how could it be blinded by the 5 sense objects? Therefore, Young Ming's Secrets on Mind Only says, as for this mind, it assembles all wonders and all mysteries. It is the king of the myriads of dharmas. It is the hidden refuge of the 3 vehicles and the 5 natures. It is the mother of the thousands of saints. It alone is revered. It alone is honored. It is incomparable, unmatched, and certainly the fountainhead of the great path. It is the essential element of the true Dharma. If we have faith in this, we should realize that all the bodhisattvas of the 3 time periods are studying the same thing, this mind. All the Buddhas of the 3 time periods have the same realization, the realization of this mind. The teachings elucidated in the Tripitaka all elucidate this mind. The delusion of all sentient beings is delusion in regard to the mind. The awakening of all cultivators is the awakening to this mind. The transmission of all the patriarchs is the transmission of this mind. The search in which all the patchwork monks of this world are engaged is the search for this mind. If we penetrate to this mind, everything is just the way it should be, and every material object is fully illuminated. But if we are deluded in regard to this mind, every place is inverted, and all thoughts are mad. This essence is not only the Buddha nature with which all sentient beings are innately endowed, but also the basic source of creation of all worlds. When the world-honored one was momentarily silent at Vulture Peak, when Subhuti forgot all words below the cliff, when Bodhidharma sat in a small cell in wall contemplation, when Vimalakirti kept silent in Vaishali, all displayed the mind's sublime essence. Therefore, when we first enter the courtyard of the patriarch sect, we must understand the essence of this mind. The sublime functioning of the true mind. We have now learned about the sublime essence of the true mind, but what is meant by its sublime functioning? Chinul, the ancients said, "The wind moves, but the mind shakes the tree. Clouds build up, but the nature raises the dust. If you are clear about the affairs of today, then you are dark to the original man." This poem alludes to the function which arises from the sublime essence. The sublime essence of the true mind is originally unmoving. It is peaceful and calm, true and eternal. The sublime function manifests from this true, eternal essence. It is unobstructed as it follows the flow and reaches the marvel. Therefore, a patriarch's verse says, "The mind whirls between the myriads of objects. In its whirling, its real power lies dormant. If one follows that flow and recognizes the nature, there is no joy and also no sorrow." At all times and in all activities, whether traveling eastward or westward, whether eating rice or donning clothes, whether lifting a spoon or handling chopsticks, whether looking left or glancing right, these are all manifestations of the sublime function of the true mind. Ordinary men are deluded. When donning clothes, they only understand that they are donning clothes. When eating, they only understand that they are eating. In all their activities, they are deceived by appearances. Hence they use the sublime function of the mind every day, but do not realize it. It is right before their eyes, but they are not aware of it. On the other hand, a man who is conscious of the nature has no further misunderstandings in any of his actions. As a patriarch said, "In the womb it is called a fetus. On being born it is called a man. In the eye it is vision. In the ears it is hearing. In the nose it is smelling. In the mouth it is talking. In the hands it is grasping. In the feet it is running. When expanded it contains all of the dharmadhatu. When contracted it exists within one minute particle of dust. Those who are aware of it know that it is the Buddha nature. Those who are not call it soul or spirit." Master Daowu's dancing with his tablet, Master Shikung's aiming a bow, Master Mimo's holding a pair of tweezers, Master Juti's raising a finger, Master Shinjo's striking the ground, Master Yunyen's toy lion, all were displaying the great functioning of the mind. If we are not deluded to its functioning each and every day, we will naturally be free from obstructions anywhere. Similarities and differences between the true mind's essence and function. We are not yet clear about the essence and function of the true mind. Are they the same or different? Chinul, from the standpoint of their characteristic signs, they are not the same. From the standpoint of their natures, they are not different. Thus the essence and its function are neither the same nor different. How can we know this to be the case? I shall attempt to explain. The sublime essence is unmoving. It is free of all relativity and separate from all signs. If we do not have the tallying realization gained by penetrating to the nature, we cannot fathom this principle. The sublime function accords with conditions and responds to all kinds of events. It masquerades in mock signs and seems to possess shape and appearance. As the function has signs and the essence does not, they are not the same. Nevertheless, as the function is produced from the essence, the function is not separate from the essence. As the essence can give rise to the function, the essence is not separate from the function. Hence, considered from the standpoint of their mutual inseparability, they are not different. Take water, for example. Its essence is moisture, for this is the factor which is unalterable. But its waves are characterized by their alterability, for they build up because of the wind. Since the nature of water is unalterable, and the appearance of waves is alterable, they are not the same. Nevertheless, apart from the waves there is no water, and apart from the water there are no waves. Since their nature, moisture, is the same, they are not different. If you correlate the similarities and differences between the essence and function with this analogy, you should be able to understand. The true mind amid delusion. Question. If everyone is endowed with the essence and function of the true mind, how is it that saints and ordinary men are not the same? Chinul. The true mind is originally the same in the saint and the ordinary man, but because the ordinary man endorses the reality of material things with the false mind, he loses his pure nature and becomes estranged from it. Therefore, the true mind cannot appear. It is like a tree's shadow in darkness, or a spring flowing underground. It exists, but it is not perceived. As a sutra says, men of good family, take as analogy a pure mani gem, which glows with the 5 colors according to the direction in which it shines. Fools think this mani gem really has 5 colors. Men of good family, it is exactly the same with the pure nature of complete enlightenment. It manifests in body and mind and adapts differently according to the object. Yet fools say the self-nature of that pure, complete enlightenment actually possesses those different bodies and minds. In Seng-chao's treatises, it is written, "Between heaven and earth and within the universe is contained a jewel. It is concealed in the mountain of form." This refers to the true mind amid entanglements. Furthermore, Tz'u-en said, "Ordinary men originally possess the dharmakāya, which is identical with that of all the Buddhas, but as they are screened from it by falsity, they have it, but do not recognize it. This innate dharmakāya, which is present within the entanglements of defilement, has been given the name Tathāgatagarbha." P'ei Hsiu said, "Ordinary men are those who are fully enlightened the whole day long without ever knowing it." Therefore we know that even amid the troubles of the dusty world, the true mind remains unaffected by those troubles. Like a piece of white jade which has been thrown in the mud, its color remains unchanged. Extinguishing delusion concerning the true mind. Question. When the true mind is beset by delusion, it becomes an ordinary man. How then can we escape from delusion and achieve sanctity? Chinul. The ancients said, when there is no place for the deluded mind, that is Bodhi. Samsara and Nirvana are originally equal. The Complete Enlightenment Sutra says, as the illusory body of that sentient being vanishes, his illusory mind also vanishes. As his illusory mind vanishes, illusory sense objects also vanish. As illusory sense objects vanish, this illusory vanishing also vanishes. As this illusory vanishing vanishes, that which is not illusory does not vanish. It is like polishing a mirror. When the dirt is removed, its brightness appears. Moreover, Yongjia said, the mind is the sense base. Dharmas are the dusty objects. These two are like a dirty streak on a mirror. When the streak is removed, the mirror's brightness appears. When mind and dharmas have both been forgotten, the nature is then true. This indeed is the removal of delusion and the accomplishment of truth. Question. Zhuangzi said, the mind's heat is like blazing fire. Its cold is like frozen ice. Its speed is such that it can pass beyond the 4 seas of the world in the twinkling of an eye. In repose it is like a deep pond. In movement it flies far into the sky. This indeed is the human mind. This is Zhuangzi's statement concerning the fact that the ordinary man's mind cannot be controlled or subdued. We are not yet clear, however, through which Dharma method the Tz'u-en school proposes to gain control over the deluded mind. Chinul. The deluded mind can be controlled through the Dharma of no mind. Question. If people have no mind, they are the same as grass or trees. Please give us some expedient description so that we can understand this idea of no mind. Chinul. When I said no mind, I did not mean that there is no mind essence. It is only when there are no things in the mind that we use the term no mind. It is like speaking of an empty bottle. We mean that there is no thing in the bottle, not that there is no bottle. We do not say that it is empty to express the idea that it is made of no material. A patriarch said, if you have no concerns in your mind and no mind in your concerns, Then naturally your mind will be empty yet numinous, calm yet sublime. It is mind in this sense that is meant here. Accordingly, we refer to the absence of the deluded mind, not to the absence of the true mind's sublime functioning. All the explanations of past patriarchs about the practice of no mind are unique. Now I will give a synopsis of these different techniques and briefly describe 10 of them. 1. Attention. This means that when we are practicing, we should always cut off thoughts and guard against their arising. As soon as a thought arises, we destroy it through attention. Nevertheless, once deluded thoughts have been destroyed through attention, and no subsequent thoughts occur, we should abandon this aware wisdom. When delusion and awareness are both forgotten, it is called no mind. As a patriarch stated, do not fear the arising of thoughts. Only be concerned lest your awareness of them be tardy. Egata says, there is no need to search for truth. You need only put all views to rest. This is the method of extinguishing delusion through attention. 2. Rest. This means that when we are practicing, we do not think of either good or evil. As soon as any mental state arises, we rest. When we meet with conditions, we rest. The ancients said, be like a strip of unbleached silk cloth. Be like cool, clear water. Be like an incense burner in an old shrine. Then you can cut through the spool of silk and leave behind all discrimination. Once you are like the stupid and senseless, you will have become partially united with it. This is the method of extinguishing delusion through resting. 3. Efface the mind, but preserve objects. This means that when we are practicing, we extinguish deluded thoughts and do not concern ourselves with the external sense spheres. We are only concerned with extinguishing the mind, for when the deluded mind is extinguished, what danger can sensual objects present? This is the teaching advocated by the ancients. Take away the man, but leave the objects. There is a saying which goes, in this place there is fragrant grass. In the whole city there are no old friends. Layman Pang said, you need only keep no mind amid the myriads of things. Then how can you be hindered by the things which constantly surround you? This is the method of extinguishing delusion by effacing the mind but preserving objects. 4. Efface objects but preserve the mind. This means that when we are practicing, we contemplate all internal and external sense spheres as being void and calm. We preserve only the one mind, signaling solitarily and standing alone. As the ancients said, don't be friends with the myriads of dharmas. Don't be partners with the world of dust. If the mind is attached to the sense spheres, it becomes deluded. But if there are no sense spheres, what delusion can there be? The true mind shines alone and is unobstructed in regard to the path. This is what the ancients called, take away the objects, but leave the man. There is a saying which goes, in the upper garden the flowers have already withered, the carts and horses are still bustling and crowded. It is also said, the 3,000 swordsmen, where are they now? Zhuangzi's private plan brought peace to the whole empire. This is the method of extinguishing delusion by effacing objects, but preserving the mind. 5. Efface both mind and objects. This means that when we are practicing, we initially make the external sense objects void and calm, and then annihilate the internal, the mind. Since internal and external are both calmed, where can delusion arise? As Guanji said, in the 10 directions there are no walls. At the 4 sides there are no gates. All is innocent, pure, and undefiled. This is the patriarch's teaching of take away both man and objects. There is a saying, the clouds scatter, the river flows along. All is calm. Heaven and earth are void. It is also said, both man and ox are not seen. This indeed is the time when the moon is bright. This is the technique of extinguishing delusion by effacing both mind and objects. 6. Preserve both mind and objects. This means that when we are practicing, mind remains in its place and objects remain in their place. If there is a time when the mind and the objects come in contact with each other, then the mind does not grasp at the objects, and the objects do not intrude upon the mind. If neither of them contacts the other, then naturally deluded thoughts will not arise, and there will be no obstacles to the path. As a sutra says, As mundane dharmas abide in the place of the supramundane dharma, their worldly characteristics abide forever. This is the patriarch's teaching of take away neither the man nor the objects. There is a saying in regard to this. One slice of moonlight appears on the sea. The members of a few families ascend the tower. It is also said, in the mountains covered with 1,000,000 blossoms, a stroller has lost his way home. This is the technique of extinguishing delusion by preserving both objects and mind. 7. Internal and external are all the same essence. This means that when we are practicing, the mountains and rivers of the great earth, the sun, the moon, the stars and the constellations, the internal body and the external world, as well as all dharmas, are all viewed as being the same essence of the true mind. That essence is clear, empty, and bright, without a hair's breadth of differentiation. The world systems of the chiliocosm, as numerous as grains of sand, have fused into one whole. Where would the deluded mind be able to arise? Dharma master Seng-chao said, "Heaven and earth and I have the same root. The myriad things and I have the same essence." This is the method of extinguishing delusion, by recognizing that external and internal are all the same essence. 8. Internal and external are all the same function. This means that when we are practicing, we take up all the dharmas of the physical universe, internal or external, mental or physical, as well as all motion and activity, and regard them all as the sublime functioning of the true mind. As soon as any thought or mental state arises, it is then the appearance of this sublime function. Since all things are this sublime functioning, where can the deluded mind stand? As Lin-chi said, the real nature of ignorance is the Buddha nature. The phantom, void body is the Dharma body. Chiksål said in his Song of the 12 Hours, during the peaceful dawn, the hour of the tiger, inside the crazy mechanism hides a man of the path. He doesn't know that sitting or lying, it is originally the path. How busy he is bearing suffering and hardship. This is the method of extinguishing delusion, by recognizing that external and internal are all the same function. 9. Substance and function are identical. This means that when we are practicing, although we conform with the true essence which has the single taste of void calmness, numinous brightness is still concealed there. Hence essence is identical to function. As Lin-chi said, the alertness of calmness is correct. The alertness of deluded thoughts is wrong. The calmness of alertness is correct. The calmness of blankness is wrong. Since blankness is not present in calmness, and distracted thoughts are not engaged during alertness, how will any deluded thoughts be able to arise? This is the method of removing delusion, by recognizing that essence and function are identical. 10. Transcend essence and function. This means that when we are practicing, we do not divide the internal and the external, nor do we discriminate north, south, east, and west. Rather, we take the 4 quarters and the 8 directions and simply transform them all into a great gate to liberation. Clearly, then, essence and function are not divided. As there is not the slightest outflow, the entire body becomes fused into one whole. Where, then, would delusion be able to arise? The ancients said, the entire body is free of creases and cracks. Above and below are perfectly round and spherical. This is the method of extirpating delusion, by transcending essence and function. You need not use all 10 methods of practice. If you merely select one approach and perfect your work with it, delusion will vanish of itself, and the true mind will instantly manifest. According to your faculties and background, choose whatever method appeals to you, and train yourself in it. These practices are endeavorless endeavors which do not involve the applied power of the existent mind. Since these methods of bringing the deluded mind to rest are of vital importance, I have given a rather detailed explanation, and am not merely being verbose. The true mind in the 4 postures. In the explanation you just gave about extinguishing delusion, we are not yet clear whether these methods should be practiced only during sitting and meditation, or whether they ought to be carried through into walking, standing, and all the other bodily postures as well. Chinul. The sutras and shastras often talk about sitting practice because it is easier to obtain results that way. Nevertheless, the training should also be carried through into the other postures, and over a long period of time it will gradually mature. The Awakening of Faith says, "He who wants to cultivate tranquility should find a quiet place and sit upright with proper attention. His attention should not be based upon the breath, nor upon any shape or form, nor upon voidness, nor upon earth, water, fire, and wind, nor upon seeing, hearing, sensing, and knowing. All thoughts should be discarded as they appear. Even the thought of discarding should be banished. As all dharmas are originally free of thought, no thoughts arise, and no thoughts cease. Moreover, he should try not to follow the mind. But if he does have thoughts which become involved externally with the sense spheres, he should subsequently remove these thoughts mentally. If the mind is agitated and distracted, it must be collected and fixed in right thought. Right thought means that he should be aware that there is only mind, and that the external sense spheres are non-existent. This mind is furthermore devoid of any distinctive signs of its own, and thus can never be ascertained. If he gets up from sitting, then at all times and during all activities, whether going, coming, moving, or being still, he should constantly be attentive to expedients which will enable him to adapt his contemplation to the situation at hand. After long training, the practice will mature and the mind will become stabilized. After the mind is stable, it gradually becomes sharper, and accordingly will be able to enter the samadhi of true suchness and completely subdue the defilements. The mind of faith will grow, and his practice will rapidly reach the stage of irreversibility. Only those who are skeptical, faithless, and slanderous, or have grave transgressions and karmic obstacles, or are proud and lazy, will be unable to enter. According to this passage, the practice should continue throughout the 4 postures. It states, in the Complete Enlightenment Sutra, initially he relies on the shamatha practice of the Tathagata and firmly keeps the prohibitions and precepts. He dwells alone in a peaceful place or quietly sits in a still room. This is the initial training. Yongzha said, "Walking is sun. Sitting is sun. During speech, silence, action, and stillness, the essence is at peace." According to this passage also, the practice should continue throughout the 4 postures. But generally speaking, if the efficacy of a person's practice is such that he cannot pacify the mind even while sitting, then how can he expect to do it while walking, standing, or otherwise? How will he ever be able to enter the path? For someone whose practice has matured, even if 1,000 saints appeared, he would not be surprised. Even if 10,000 maras and goblins showed up, he would not turn his head. Thus in walking, standing, and sitting, how could he not maintain his practice? If a person wanted to take revenge on an enemy, he would not be able to forget it, whatever the time and whatever the action, whether walking, standing, sitting, reclining, eating, or drinking. If he is in love, it is the same too. Hatred and love are matters in which the mind plays an active role. If we can easily keep such things in mind, even when the mind is active, why do we doubt that our present practice, in which no mind is involved, could not continue throughout the 4 postures? We need only fear that our faith is lacking, or that we do not try. For if we exert ourselves in all the deportments and have faith, the path will never be lost. The abode of the true mind. When the deluded mind is extinguished, the true mind appears. Yet where are the essence and function of the true mind now? Chinul. The sublime essence of the true mind pervades all places. Yongzha said, "It is not separate from this very spot, and is constantly still. If you search for it, then you should know that it cannot be found." The sutras state, it is of the nature of empty space. It is eternally immovable. In the Tathagata Garbha, there is no arising or ceasing. Ta Fa Yen said, "Everywhere is the way to Bodhi. Everything is a grove of meritorious qualities. This indeed is the abode of the essence. The sublime function of the true mind reacts to stimuli and manifests accordingly, like the echo in a valley." Fa Teng said, "In past and present, its response has been unfailing. It is clearly present before your eyes. A wisp of cloud appears in the valley at evening. A lone stork descends from the distant sky. Yuan, a Huayan master from Weifu, said, "The Buddha Dharma is present in all your daily activities. It is present during your walking, standing, sitting, and reclining, while drinking tea and eating rice, during conversation and dialogue, in whatever you do and perform. To stir up your mind and set thoughts in motion is indeed far from being correct." Hence we know that the essence pervades all places and always gives rise to function. But as the presence or absence of the appropriate causes and conditions for its manifestation is uncertain, this sublime functioning is not fixed. It is not that in some cases the sublime functioning is absent. If people who cultivate the mind want to enter the sea of the unconditioned and cross beyond all birth and death, they must not be confused about the abode of the true mind's essence and function. The true mind beyond death. Question. We have heard that men who have seen the nature transcend birth and death. However, all the patriarchs of the past had seen the nature, and yet they all were born, and they all died. Nowadays we see that those who are cultivating the path are born, and will die too. How can we leave behind birth and death? Chinul. Birth and death are originally non-existent. They exist because of a false notion. It is like a person with diseased eyes who sees flowers in the sky. If a person without this disease says there are no flowers in the sky, the afflicted person will not believe it. But if his disease is cured, the flowers in the sky will vanish naturally, and he can then accept that they were non-existent. Although the flowers he sees have not yet vanished, they are in fact still void. It is only the sick man who takes them to be flowers. Their essence does not really exist. In the same way, people wrongly assume that birth and death exist. If a man free of birth and death tells them that birth and death are originally non-existent, they will not believe him. But one morning, if delusion is put to rest, and birth and death are spontaneously abandoned, they will realize that birth and death are originally non-existent. It is only when birth and death are not yet ended that although they do not really exist, they seem to exist because of this false conceptualization. As a sutra says, "Men of good family, since time immemorial all sentient beings have been subject to all kinds of inverted views. They are like people who have confused the four directions. They wrongly assume that the four elements are their own bodies. They regard the shadows conditioned by the six sense objects as their own minds. This is like diseased eyes which see flowers in the sky. Yet even if all the flowers in the sky were to vanish from space, it could not be said that they actually vanished. And why is this? Because they never came into existence in the first place. All sentient beings mistakenly perceive an arising and a ceasing within this non-arising state. For this reason, it is called the revolving wheel of birth and death." According to the text of this sutra, we can be sure that if we have a penetrating awakening to the true mind of complete enlightenment, then as originally there is no birth or death. We know now that there is no birth and death, but still we cannot liberate ourselves from birth and death because our practice is imperfect. As it says in the texts, Ambapali once asked Manjushri, "I can understand that birth is actually the unborn dharma, but why then am I still subject to the flow of birth and death?" Manjushri answered, "It is because your power is still insufficient." The mountain master Chin asked the mountain master Shu, "I understand that birth is actually the unborn dharma, but why am I still subject to the flow of birth and death?" Shu replied, "Bamboo shoots eventually become bamboo, but can you use them now to make a raft?" Accordingly, to know that there is no birth or death is not as good as to experience that there is no birth or death. To experience that there is no birth or death is not as good as to be in conformity with the birthless and the deathless. To be in conformity with the birthless and the deathless is not as good as to make sense of the birthless and the deathless. People nowadays do not even know that there is no birth or death, let alone experience, be in conformity with, or make use of the birthless and the deathless. Is it not only natural, then, that people who assume there really is birth and death would not be able to believe in the birthless and deathless Dharma? The primary practice and secondary aids for realizing the true mind. Question. Once delusion, is brought to rest as explained previously, the true mind will appear. But as long as delusion has not been extinguished, should we use only the no-mind practice to bring delusion to rest? Or are there other methods to counteract all delusion? Chinul. The primary practice and secondary aids are not the same. To extinguish delusion with no mind is the primary practice. To train in all wholesome actions is the secondary aid. It is like a bright mirror which is covered with dust. Even though we rub it with the hand, we still need a good polish to make it lustrous. Then, and only then, will its brightness manifest. The dust is defilement. The force of the polishing hand is the practice of no mind. The polish is all the wholesome actions. The shine of the mirror is the true mind. As it is said in the Awakening of Faith, furthermore, faith accomplishes the activation of the bodhicitta. What mind does it activate? Briefly, there are three kinds. What are the three? The first is the straight mind, which is right attention to the dharma of true suchness. The second is the deep mind, which accumulates all wholesome practices. The third is the mind of great compassion, which aims to eradicate the sufferings of all sentient beings. Question. You explained the one sign of the Dharma Dhatu and the non-duality of the Buddha essence. Why do we not simply recollect true suchness instead of contriving to train in all wholesome practices? Answer. The mind is like a large mani gem. Its essential nature is luminous and transparent, but it is tainted by impurities of the ore. If a person merely imagines the essence of this gem, but does not polish it in various ways with expedients, it will never become transparent. In the same way, the essential nature of the Dharma of true suchness, which is inherent in sentient beings, is void and clear, but it is stained by incalculable defilements and impurities. If a person only imagines that true suchness, but fails to develop his mind in various ways by training in expedients, it too will never get clean. As the impurities are incalculable and pervade all dharmas, he cultivates all wholesome practices in order to counteract them. If a person practices all wholesome dharmas, he will naturally return to harmony with the dharma of true suchness. According to this explanation, bringing the deluded mind to rest is the primary practice, and cultivating all wholesome dharmas is the secondary aid. When cultivating the good, if you accord with no mind, you will not be attached to cause and effect. If you cling to cause and effect, you will receive a karmic reward which falls within the sphere of ordinary men and gods, making it difficult to realize true suchness. You will be unable to liberate yourself from birth and death. But if you are united with no mind, this will be the expedient needed to realize true suchness, and the essential technique needed to free yourself from birth and death. Simultaneously, you will receive the greatest of merits. The Diamond Sutra says, Subhuti, if bodhisattvas give without dwelling on signs, the merit of that giving will be inconceivable. As soon as worldly men who practice meditation nowadays understand that they possess the original Buddha nature, they rely solely on this impeccability and do not train in all the wholesome practices. How is it that their only mistake is that they will be incapable of penetrating to the true mind? To the contrary, in their laziness they will not even be able to avoid the evil borns, let alone free themselves from birth and death. This view of theirs is a grave error. The meritorious qualities of the true mind. Question. We do not doubt that merit is produced when the mind plays an active role in cultivation, but how is any merit made from cultivating with no mind? Chinul. The cause of cultivation in which the mind plays an active role produces a conditioned result, but the cause of cultivating with no mind reveals the meritorious qualities of the nature. We are originally in full possession of these meritorious qualities, but because we are enveloped in delusion, they do not manifest. When delusion is removed, however, these meritorious qualities appear. As Yongja said, the three bodies and the four wisdoms are complete in the essence. The 8 liberations and the 6 spiritual powers are stamped on the mind ground. This is what is meant by the essence being fully endowed with the meritorious qualities of the nature. An ancient poem says, if a man sits in stillness for 1 instant, it is better than building 7 jeweled stupas as numerous as the sands of the Ganges. Those jeweled stupas will finally be reduced to dust, but one thought of purity of mind produces right enlightenment. Thus we see that the merit of no mind surpasses that in which the mind plays an active role. Once Master Shui Liao of Hongzhou went to see Ma Tzu and asked, what is the real meaning of Bodhidharmas coming from the West? Ma Tzu knocked him down, and Shui Liao was instantly awakened. He stood up, rubbed his palms together, and laughed loudly, saying, "How wonderful! How wonderful! Hundreds of thousands of samadhis and immeasurable sublime meanings exist on the tip of one hair. In an instant I have recognized their source." He then prostrated and withdrew. According to this passage, these meritorious qualities did not come from outside. They were originally complete in himself. The fourth patriarch said to Zen master Fa Zheng, "The hundreds and thousands of approaches to Dharma return together to this one square inch of the mind. Meritorious qualities, as numerous as the sands of the Ganges, are all present in the fountainhead of the mind. Every aspect of Shila, Samadhi, and Prajna, as well as magic and miracles, are all complete there. They are not separate from your mind. According to the words of the patriarch, the meritorious qualities of no mind are innumerable. It is merely those who prefer token merit who cannot allow themselves to give rise to faith in the meritorious qualities of no mind." Testing the true mind's operation. Question. When the true mind appears, how do we know that it has matured without obstructions? Chinul. Although the true mind might manifest to those who are training on the path, if they have not yet eliminated their habit energies, they will occasionally lose their mindfulness when they encounter matured objects. It is like a herdsman who has trained his ox to follow obediently, but still would not dare to lay down his whip or tether. He must wait until the ox's mind is fully trained and its pace steady, so that even if he guided it through a field of tender young rice sprouts, it would not harm the paddy. Only then would he dare to loosen his grip. At that stage, even though he does not use the whip or tether, the ox would not injure the young sprouts. It is the same for the man on the path. Even after he has realized the true mind, he has to strive to maintain and nurture that realization in order to obtain great power and function. Then, and only then, will he be able to benefit sentient beings. If there comes a time when you want to test this true mind, you should take all the hateful and lustful situations you have encountered throughout your whole life and imagine that they are right before you. If a hateful or lustful state of mind arises as before, your mind of the path is immature. If hateful or lustful thoughts do not arise, your mind of the path is mature. Although your mind is matured to this extent, you should test it again if it is still not completely and naturally free from hate and lust in all circumstances. When hateful or lustful situations are encountered, thoughts of strong anger or desire ordinarily arise which cause one to cling to the objects of that anger or lust. But if such thoughts are not produced, the mind is unobstructed. It is like a white ox in a field which does not injure the young seedlings. Formerly, those masters who cursed the Buddhas or reviled the patriarchs accorded with this type of mind. But nowadays it is certainly premature for those who have just entered the patriarch's school and have no perspective regarding the path to imitate cursing the Buddhas and reviling the patriarchs. The nescience of the true mind. Question. When the true mind and the deluded mind are involved with the sense spheres, how can we distinguish the true from the deluded? Chinul. When the deluded mind is in contact with the sense spheres, it knows through discriminative awareness. It gives rise to greedy or hateful states of mind, depending on whether pleasant or unpleasant objects are present. Or else it gives rise to ignorant states of mind when neutral objects are encountered. Since the three poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion are produced because of these objects, it is easy to see that the mind is deluded. A patriarch said, "The conflict between the adverse and the favorable, this is the sickness of the mind." Consequently, we know that it is the deluded mind which sustains the dichotomy between right and wrong. As far as the true mind is concerned, it knows while knowing nothing. But because it is impartial, quiet, and utterly radiant, it is different from the nescience of grass and trees. Since it does not give rise to feelings of hatred or lust, it is different from the deluded mind. The mind which, when in contact with the sense spheres, is empty and yet bright, neither hateful nor lustful, nescient and yet aware. This indeed is the true mind. As the treatises of Seng-chao state, since a saint's mind is sublime and signless, it is not right to assume that it exists. Nevertheless, however much he may use it, its reserves are never exhausted, so it is not right to assume that it does not exist. Since it is non-existent, it is aware, and yet nescient. Since it is not non-existent, it is nescient, and yet aware. Therefore, that nescience, which is precisely awareness, cannot be said to be different from the saint's mind. When the deluded mind is present in existence, it is attached to existence. When it is present in non-existence, it is attached to non-existence. It is constantly caught in one of these two extremes and is never aware of the middle path. Yongjia said, "If you renounce the deluded mind but cling to the truth, the mind which clings and renounces becomes artificial and contrived. Students do not understand how to conduct their practice. In fact, they mistake a brigand for their son. The true mind dwells in existence and non-existence, but does not fall into either existence or non-existence. It constantly abides in the middle path. A patriarch said, 'Do not follow the conditioned. Do not dwell in the recognizance of emptiness. When all is uniformly quiet, it is utterly extinguished of itself.' The treatises of Seng-chao state, 'Saints abide in existence, but are non-existent. They dwell in non-existence, but are not non-existent. Although they cling neither to existence nor non-existence, they do not reject existence or non-existence. Therefore their light blends harmoniously with the troubles of the dusty world. They pass between the 5 destinies, calmly going, suddenly coming. Tranquil, they do nothing, and yet there is nothing they do not do.' This passage explains that the saint opens his hands for the people. He passes between the 5 destinies and converts sentient beings. Nevertheless, although he comes and goes between those levels, he is still free of any sign of coming or going. This is not the case for the deluded mind. For this reason also the true mind and the deluded mind are not the same. The true mind is the normal mind. The deluded mind is the abnormal mind. Question: what is the normal mind? Chinul: all men possess a point of numinous brightness which is still like space, and pervades every region. When contrasted with mundane affairs, it is expediently called the noumenal nature. When contrasted with formations and consciousness, it is provisionally called the true mind. As it is without a hair's breadth of differentiation, when it encounters conditions, it is unobscured and free from even one thought of clinging or rejection. Whatever it encounters, it accepts. It does not follow after the myriads of objects. Even though it follows the flow and reaches the marvel, it never leaves the stillness of its abiding place. If you search for it, you should know that you will not be able to find it. This indeed is the true mind. Question: what is the abnormal mind? Chinul: the sense spheres contain both the holy and the ordinary. The sense spheres contain both the sullied and the pure. Annihilation and eternity, noumenon and phenomenon, arising and ceasing, motion and stillness, coming and going, beautiful and ugly, wholesome and unwholesome, cause and effect. All are contained in the sense spheres too. If we were to discuss in detail everything contained in the sense spheres, there would be myriads of differences and thousands of distinctions. The 10 pairs of contrasting states I just mentioned refer to the abnormal sphere. The mind follows this abnormal sphere and arises. The mind follows this abnormal sphere and ceases. The mind which is involved in these abnormal sense spheres can be contrasted with the normal, true mind mentioned previously. Consequently, it is called the abnormal, deluded mind. The true mind with which we are all originally endowed does not arise in relation to the abnormal sense spheres and produce different distinctions. For this reason it is called the normal, true mind. Question: since the true mind is normal and devoid of all the different sorts of causes, how is it that the Buddha spoke of the laws of cause and effect and of good and bad karmic retribution? Chinul: the deluded mind pursues all the diverse objects in the sense spheres without understanding their true import. Accordingly, it gives rise to many kinds of mental states. The Buddha gave different examples of the law of cause and effect in order to subdue these various deluded mental states. But in the case of the true mind, these different sense objects are not pursued, and hence these various mental states do not arise. Since, from this standpoint, the Buddha would not need to speak of many different kinds of dharmas, how can there be any cause and effect? Question: does the true mind normally not arise? Chinul: although the true mind is sometimes activated, it does not arise in relation to external objects. Only its sublime functioning is at play. It is not that it is unclear about cause and effect. The destination of the true mind. Question: since people who have not yet penetrated to the true mind are confused about it, they create both good and evil causes. Due to the creation of good causes, they take birth in a good destiny. Due to the creation of evil causes, they enter an evil born. According to their actions, they receive a corresponding birth. There is no doubt about the validity of this principle. On the other hand, a person who has penetrated to the true mind has completely extinguished false passion. Through his tallying realization of the true mind, he no longer creates good and evil causes. After he passes away, where will his solitary spirit take refuge? Chinul, is it not usually said that it is better to have a refuge than not to have one? Furthermore, one who has no refuge is the same as a vagrant who drifts aimlessly among men. He resembles those lonely spirits of the ghost realms who have no master. But to be specific, are you not actually seeking a refuge through this question? Questioner, that is correct. Chinul, after penetration to the nature, this refuge will no longer be necessary. Since all sentient beings are confused about the enlightened nature, they produce karma through false passions and craving thoughts. These actions are the cause for their being born into the 6 destinies, where they receive both good and evil karmic retribution. If, for example, they perform actions commensurate with those of the devas, they will receive the corresponding result, rebirth in heaven. They receive the place of rebirth appropriate to their past action. There is no other reward they can expect. In all the destinies it is the same. It all depends on the karma. They are satisfied with the place in which they are reborn, and would not be satisfied with any other birth. They consider their place of rebirth as their own personal refuge. They regard the places where they were not reborn as the refuge of others. Accordingly, if there are false passions, then there are false causes. If there are false causes, then there are false results. If there are false results, then there is a refuge. If there is a refuge, then there is discrimination between here and there. And if there is discrimination between here and there, then there is right and wrong. Now, those who penetrate to the true mind tally with the enlightened nature, which is not subject to arising and ceasing, and give rise to the sublime functioning, which is also not subject to arising and ceasing. Their sublime essence is real, eternal, and originally free of arising and ceasing, but their sublime functioning adapts to the environment and seems to display arising and ceasing. Nevertheless, since the function arises from the essence, function and essence are identical. Thus, how can there be any arising and ceasing? Because accomplished men have realized that true essence, could arising and ceasing intrude in any way? It is like water. Moisture is its essence, and waves are its function. Since the moist nature of water is forever unchanging, how can the moist nature within the waves change? But as waves cannot exist apart from that moist nature, they too are unchanging. For this reason the ancients said, the whole earth is the one proper eye of this Shramana. The whole earth is a samgarama, monastery, a sanctuary for the man who has awakened to the noumenon. Once a person has penetrated to the true mind, the 4 kinds of birth and the 6 destinies instantly disappear. The mountains, the rivers, and the great earth are all discovered to be the true mind. Hence it is impossible that there could be any other refuge apart from this true mind. Since there are, then, no more false causes within the triple world, there can be no false results of rebirth in its 6 destinies. And if there are no false results, what refuge can be spoken of? There is no separate this or that. And since there is no this or that, how can there be right and wrong? All the worlds in the 10 directions are only this one true mind. The whole body is their reward. There is no refuge distinct from it. In the teaching about the Buddha's and Bodhisattva's exhibition of special skills and powers, it is explained that we may take rebirth at will without obstacles or hindrances. As it is stated in the transmission of the lamp, the preceding minister Wen-chao asked Master P'ei Hsiu, after men who have awakened to the noumenon complete this life, where is their refuge? P'ei Hsiu answered, there are no sentient beings who are not invested with the numinous and bright enlightened nature, which is not different from that of all the Buddhas. If you can awaken to the fact that this nature is the dharmakāya, and realize that originally you are unborn, then what need is there for a refuge? The numinous brightness is not obscured. It is clear and constantly aware. There is no place from which it came, and no place to which it will go. Only the void calmness can be considered to be your own essence. Do not suppose that your essence is your physical body. The numinous awareness is your own mind. Do not suppose that your mind is the deluded thoughts. If deluded thoughts arise, never follow them. Then, when you are about to die, karma cannot bind you. although you enter the intermediate state between rebirths, the direction you take is entirely up to you. Whether you go to the realm of gods or the realm of humans, you are free to take any refuge you want. This is the destination of the true mind after the dissolution of the body.